Hello, everyone. This is Michael Saltzman. I'm the Director of Digital Products at BlueSkyBio. I'd like to welcome everyone who's joining us for today's presentation, and we are continuing the 2022 webinar series. Information regarding the schedule and upcoming webinar presentations can be seen at blueskyplan.com/webinars 2022. You can find there as well recordings from past webinars. The webinars, such as this one, often build on each other. So we definitely recommend that if you missed any of the past webinar presentations, to go and watch the recordings. And of course, to attend all future upcoming webinars. All of them are free, and you can receive 1 CE credit for attending the presentations. A few technical items before we get started. If you have questions during the webinar presentation, please enter them into the question and answer Q&A box on the bottom of the screen. As usual, we'll be sending the CE credits via email within a few days or a week following the presentation. And as I mentioned, webinars are recorded and are available to be watched at a later point via our website and our social channels, of course, barring any technical issues. While everyone is joining, I'd like to point out some restorative abutment and crown specials that we have available on labpronto.com. Definitely connected to today's webinar presentation. If you like any assistance with the planning and manufacturing, then check out labpronto.com. We have a custom titanium abutment and crown available for $249, and we're going to be going live with a digital abutment and crown special for $149. Ordering via labpronto.com is super simple, quick, very convenient, and you'll receive texts and emails updates as your order is being processed. And of course, you can log into your clinical backend to see the status of all your cases. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from Dr. Raymond Rophie. He has a tremendous amount of experience, both clinically and as a dental lab technician. Everything connected to digital dentistry, relevant softwares, mills, printers, and everything in between. In 2017, Raymond started lecturing in USA, Canada, and Mexico. And in 2018, joined the BlueSkyBio team to work in the CADCAM department, provide clinical support, and everything connected to digital parts development. He's also the co-owner of CADCAM 2U Digital Solutions Lab, one of the prominent labs providing services via Lab Pronto. Often, clinicians specifically request CADCAM 2U to handle the most difficult and challenging cases. Raymond also lectures about BlueSkyPlan and everything connected to digital dentistry. Today, he will be presenting on the topic of full restorative surgical workflow from surgical guide to restoration. And as a final comment, I'd like to point out that exports from the crown and bridge module, both to STL files and to the XML milling data, is completely free of charge. Raymond?
Hi, Michael. Thank you. And hi, everyone. Thank you for being today and stay here and during your busy schedule. So today I want to speak about, well, not speak, I'll definitely show you. This will be very practical. So if you all have questions regarding the digital workflow, it will be very important for you to ask them. Michael, please, if you see any questions, stop me right there and I'll be happy to explain them. Okay, so what we are going to see today is basically a case or cases, depending on the time, that will follow the digital workflow. Okay, basically we will load all the scans or CBCTs inside of BlueSkyPlan. This is actually one very common question that we get in BlueSkyBio in the user support. So here we will load the DICOM file. We will load as well the STL file. For this case, I wanted to just continue what Dr. Mithley explained on the last webinar. He was presenting about importing an STL file, which is a file that you imported from your scanner, either desktop scanner or intraoral scanner, right? And for this case, I have actually two workflows. I hope that we have time to review them, but we'll start by working with a model imported from a CT scan. So if you don't have yet a desktop scanner or an intraoral scanner, but yet you want to do guided surgery, either for you design it or to outsource it to Lab Pronto, what you can do is you can just grab your CVCT scanner and just place your model on and take your scan, and BlueSkyPlan will import it for you. So that will be the data acquisition. Yeah. From there, we have as well the design. In this case, in this webinar, we will design number one, the implant position, which will be at the end of the surgical guide, but will be completely prosthetically driven. Okay, so we will be actually designing a crown, a full restoration that will be there, supported by a titanium base. Okay, so there you go. So this is, I know that everybody knows these are like the regular BlueSkyBio Sky base or any tie bases. These are CEREC compatible as well. And what I want to explain about this, these are abutments that I really like and enjoy working with them and restoring patients with the titanium bases. The reason is because you have a perfect margin and you have an anti-rotational feature that will definitely work for the crowns not to be rotating on the axis of the abutment. As well, you have an emergence profile. I will be sending some articles that I really like about emergence profile. Some of Ernesto Lee or Dr. Salama really enlightened me with all this. So we're following actually those principles for this presentation as well. Okay. Well, this will be for a titanium base. For the titanium bases, I'll walk you through how to get that titanium basis. Okay, so you can go to BlueSkyBio.com. Basically here in the company, you just go shop online and then implant systems. If you're using implant systems, we have Biomax, which is I really like this implant a lot, or Forte. They're exactly sharing the same platform, so you can use either or. They're narrow platform. I really like that. That is just a single platform implant. And then you go to prosthetics. Okay, good. Once that you are in the prosthetics area, you will choose the Sky base abutments. And once that you choose the Sky base abutments, you can choose from the, wow, now we have even more. We have all this inventory of parts that you have from different heights, from different color heights. Okay, so we have the 1 millimeter color height. Okay, here you have 1 millimeter from the platform of the implant to the margin of the abutment. This is a 4.5 millimeter abutment and 5.6 tall. This is also a very frequently asked question. Also, we have the 1.8 millimeter collar height. We have as well now the newcomers that these are the 2.845 millimeters as well. We have the mini Sky bases. These mini Sky bases, they are actually one of the, I would say one of the majorly asked when you're using like a narrow space for, I don't know, a lower incisor, number 7, number 10 as well, that will be, that you have very narrow crowns or narrow, that you place like very narrow implants. So these mini are really good. these are compatible with the CEREC S blocks. Okay, the other ones, all the rest are compatible with the L blocks. These are just for the S blocks if you're using that. And as well, we have a 1.8 millimeters. Usually when you place this type of implants, they are submerged, okay? They are subcrestal by a good 2 or 2.5 millimeters subcrestal. So we have this 1.8 millimeter collar height mini tie bases. And we have the anti-rotational tie bases as well. Okay, we have anti-rotation, we have, I'm sorry, non-engaging, my mistake. These are the non-engaging sky bases. These are really good for immediate loading. Actually, for this type, for the webinar for today, if you are planning to do like an immediate load, like an immediate loading, even though that with a fully guided surgical kit, you're able to get very close, very close to the actual final position. If you want to deliver like a crown that will be already glazed and bonded or cemented, then the ideal abutment to use for those cases will be this, the non-engaging sky base, okay? And if you're using non-engaging or you're using multiple units, we as well have this tie base that will be at implant level. This will be non-engaging, and also the conical connection, you only have it on the very top portion of the implant, right? So this will allow for the restorations to have some, to create a draw, an easier draw to get for, you know, 300 bridges, kind of like that restoration. Anyway, so we have as well the angled abutments, okay, the angled titanium base abutments. These angled titanium bases abutments are as well, we have the engaging, okay, and the non-engaging. Remember that when you see this conical, this long conical connection will be more for single units that, or for multiple units that you will, it will be non-engaging, thus it will rotate, right? And this one that has a shorter conical connection, this will be like for a multiple unit restoration. If you're going to use an angle abutment, we suggest to use the angle screwdriver as well. This will allow you to correct even okay, with this one, you can correct out to 15 degrees more. Okay, and yes, the screw is a different screw. So here you can see that the restoration is, the sky base is already corrected at 15, and the, okay, because of the diameter of the abutment, if you use the angled screw channel, you will be able to correct only 10 more. However, if you need to correct even more, you can always create a slot on the titanium base. You can perforate it so you can access with your angled screwdriver, and you can now torque your abutment from that insertion direction. Okay, so well, that's all that we have as well as a project that we had, and we're actually very close to finish now. Is, well, actually it's already finished. We have all the impression transfers. We wanted to delete or to basically get away from one step from the digital workflow, which was the scan bodies. It's a very confusing step. So all the impression transfers in BlueSkyBio, they are being transferred to digital. So you don't have, number one, to have more inventory, which that's part of the DNA of the company, but also you have it's easier. You don't have to choose between a scan body or a impression transfer. Okay, good. And these are the digital analogs and all the rest. Okay, perfect. So I went up with these. If there are any questions regarding the titanium bases, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer about that. Okay, so I'm going to open now the BlueSkyPlan software. For those who know, well, actually, this is an automatic request from the software. The new version 4.9 is out, and I'm really liking it a lot. I think that it's that it has really good functionalities or new improved functionalities, and it's actually very streamlined. So we will start in this case, and again, continuing what Dr. Robert Miffley reviewed last webinar. If you haven't seen it, please go ahead and and check it out. Definitely, it's worthwhile to look at it. So continuing that webinar, I will work today on the advanced module. So if you're new to the software and you want to learn like hacks, or not hacks, but basically you want to learn like tips and tricks that well, it's just one way, is the way that I do it, is another way that you can learn just another point of view, and maybe get some nuggets for that for that workflow, right? So here we will start by just clicking on the implant planning and surgical guides, okay? And then you can choose by importing the patient CT scan. When you import the patient CT scan, you get to this folders, so you can choose the files, so you can load, as you can see here, the DICOM data. If you don't like this view for whatever reason, you can always click here where it says network, and it will bring you to the regular Windows folders look like, which is friendlier. At least I like it more. Okay, so here I'm going to go to my desktop and check on the folder that I have for the webinars. And in this case, we have the one case that actually Dr. Miller was mentioning about the digital pouring, or the Ferguson technique about how to digitally pour impressions. These are really good techniques when you have a patient that it's heavily restored, or that it's not easy to scan intraoral. Okay, what you do is you use an impression tray, fill up with PVS. It has to be PVS specifically. The reason is because it has palladium inside. It's a metal, so it makes it radiopaque. So that's why it's PVS specifically. Okay, and you put some markers in it, and you'll be able to match the restoration. And also we will work in a, actually, you know what, let's start here with the inversion with the Ferguson technique here. And this was invented by Dr. Rick Ferguson, which I personally meet, and I've learned from him a lot on the 3D printing, and actually also the surgical planning, and also with Dr. Gonzalez, which was really good. So here you can see now we'll import the patient CBCT, and we'll select folder, and the software will automatically start loading the case. Okay, here we will just click OK, and we will now pass to the, I will say, one of the most important and underrated parts of the software here. In this area, you know now like 25% if your case will work or not. Okay, so what you need to do, I see it like in a workflow, in a way that you can start looking from the XY view as one, XZ view, okay, as second image, and then the YZ view as your third image. If for some reason you don't have this type of image and the image look fuzzy like this, okay, and it doesn't look like very clear, you can always change in the options the image mode, okay, from that medium interplanar. So here you will be able to rotate your models. In the case that your CBCT is rotated, you can just straighten it up. This will help you to straighten up your patient in the software, and this will create the insertion direction for the surgical guide. So it's very important that you take a few seconds here to just place your patient as straight as possible. Also, if you have a computer that is not powerful, that is not very powerful, or if you want to just limit your field of view, so you don't have to view the whole by the both jaws, and you just want to focus on the area that you're working, you can as well, by with the left mouse button and scrolling and dragging the yellow box narrower, you will be cutting the field of view. Okay, whatever is without this yellow this yellow field, it will not show up on the planning software. For this case, I will just ignore it and make sure that first you work with the circles, okay, with this rotation. And then once that you finish the rotation, then you can work now by limiting the field of view. right? Because what happens is that if you limit the field of view and then you rotate, you will lose those, you will lose that, that change that you did, okay, that feature. Good. So second thing that we have to see is that your patient has open arches or the mouth. Basically, like you can see a separation between the arches. This will help the software to align better. So that's very important. And a third option, and a third thing to look at this, to look at here on the data set alignment, it will be that you have like your plane of occlusion as parallel as possible. Here, of course, we cannot have it because the patient has a tray inside. So we'll just straighten it up a little bit. Okay, we'll be working on the mandible. Perfect. So now we'll just move next and click OK. This will take us to the next step. And it will just open the CBCT information. And will ask us about the way, okay, it will ask us about the model that we want to import. Okay, are we importing an STL model? This is from an intraoral or a desktop scanner. Are we importing a CBCT of an impression? Are we importing a CT scan of the impression with markers, which is exactly what we're doing in this workflow? Scan appliance, or a scan appliance, which is a denture with markers, or the CBCT of a model. Okay, so in this case, we will choose the CT scan of impression with markers. Okay, and here we will now click here, click this folder that it says impression inversion with markers, click OK. You just need to click on the folder, even if it's zipped, the software will read it. Okay, and now will bring us same alignment of data set to the software. Here, I'm just limiting the field of view. If you're taking this, this impression in your office, it's very, well, it's recommendable that you use like cotton rolls, or if you have foam, basically the foam that you get from your labs wrapped on the models, you can just place it on the base of the CBCT, so you can now position it on the base of the, on the, either the denture or the impression tray or the model, whatever you're taking the CBCT on. And this will give, it will be easier for the software to look at a floating model. Okay, so you will be able to use it easier. Okay, so now once that you import, you click OK, and now we'll be importing, or the software will be rendering the CBCT of the impression tray. Okay, so look at this. Now what we will have is 4 windows, okay, showing us on the first 2 windows will be, okay, they're designed to look at the models, and you can play with the threshold bar, so you can see the radiopaque markers. These radiopaque markers can be like as easy as composite dots, or you can use the cone beam markers. You can buy the cone beam markers here in BlueSkyBio. If you want to go to BlueSkyBio, what you in the website, what you do there is you go just on the very top where it says software and then components. You can see here the cone beam markers, and you can get the stickers with the radiopaque crystal beads. That these guys are like very easy to use. You just clean with a wipe the denture, the tray, whatever, and then you stick this, then you peel them out. That's it, super easy to use. Or you can use like composite, it will be the same result. Okay, so here on these 2 top windows, what you're gonna do is you can just slide the window and play with the threshold. So you can here make it like very, very light, and probably here we will not see anything, or if we can see only the markers and the most radiopaque surface as the teeth. Here actually you can see the markers are like here, but very, very small. So we will make this threshold more radiopaque, more dense. If so far there is not a question, impressive, but it will be great if you ask.
There are a
Because
few questions that came in. Just let me know when you want to handle them.
I'm sorry?
There are a few questions that came in. Let me just
Okay,
let me
great.
know. Okay, so the first question is, can a tie base be used as a scan body?
Sure. That's a great question. And yes, all the abutments and BlueSkyBio will be able to be used as scan bodies as well. Okay. Now it's very important, now that you mentioned this, it's very important to say that it will be a little bit difficult for you to capture a tie base intraorally. However, you can always like sandblast them and it will be easier for you to capture them, or you can just use a model and scan it. So answering your question, yes, they can be used.
And in the software, maybe we'll see a little bit later on the select scan body screen, we have a button there that says use abutment as scan body. So you could actually just click that button and then select the relevant abutment to be using as your scan body.
Yeah, and the great thing is that we're implementing now some very cool features where you will be able to include, you will be able not also to align the abutments, but also to make analog models as well. So it will be really very nice things are coming. Maybe Michael, we can do a webinar about the restorations only later on. It will be really good. I'll be happy to make it. Okay, so here on this, is any other questions now, or I can go?
There's a question. How do you get your patients to open during the CT scan?
Okay, so that's a great question. So what you do is actually you use either cotton rolls on the posterior, or you just place like anything that will stop on the posterior, on the molars, more than like that's more important on the molars. And the reason for this is because if you don't put them on the molars and you don't have a stop, what will happen is that the patient will move, probably trying to be compliant with you or to help you. And what happens is that the CBCT then turns like, let me see if this one is perfect, but it turns like with a movement line. And what happens when you have movement lines on the CBCTs is that it's very difficult to align the models with the CBCT. So whatever you will do to have your patient with a open, just make sure that it's a physical stop, okay? Because that will, no, actually this is very good, but you will see some CBCTs that they have here a line that is like mismatching. And that is because when the cone beam was on one side, the patient was in one position, and then when he turned to the other side, the patient was in another position, a different position. So that's why sometimes you see here these lines. And when you see these lines on the right in the symphysis, then what you can expect is a harder than usual model stitching with the CBCT. And the way to bypass this is that if you're working only on one side, make sure that that side is perfectly aligned, and that the error that will yield that CBCT error is on the contralateral side, right? And if you're working in both sides, then what you do is you duplicate your model and you align one in one side and then the other side, and you make two guides for this. Okay, that's the actual way of bypassing these issues. Okay, so any other one?
Yeah, let's go on.
Good. Okay, perfect. So here what we're doing now is we are aligning the models. Okay, and what we're going to do now is, or what I like to do is, you grab on the right side, which is the scan appliance or the model or the impression tray, you make it completely radiopaque, or the most radiopaque that you can, so you can see in which position is this. Usually it will be in the same position as you see on the lower left. So here, what I'm going to do is I will position it on the right spot. Okay, and I'll start like recognizing the markers. So here we have 3 that are easily recognizable. So here is 1, and then you will hold your shift key. As you can see, every time that you hold your hold your shift key, cross will appear on the mouse cursor. Okay, that means in BlueSkyPlan, that means that you will activate something. And then with the left mouse button, you will trigger basically that functionality. Okay, so we did this on the tray. We did the right side and the middle. So here we're right side, middle, and then we're gonna go now to the left side. As you can see, I'm not doing this in order. In BlueSkyPlan, you don't have to work with that hierarchy of order on the points. So as long as you can see the radiographic markers, you can just mark them, okay? So let's say that I really want to align more. So what I do is I slide the bar to a more radiolucent, to a less radiolucent threshold, and then I will be able to see more the radiopaque markers, okay? Good. So here we have another one. So that means that here we can see the marker as well. It's very important that when you're doing this type of alignment, you don't like try to move your head and look for the models too hard. Okay, try to move your models and try to look for the easiest possible things that will look like an impression marker. Okay, so here we have as well two posteriors. So probably we have here, you can see this and these markers. Okay, so I'll just mark them here, 1 and 2, and then as well on the other side, we'll be doing exactly the same thing. As you can see, I am zooming in and out. This I am doing it with my right mouse button, okay, by zooming in and out, and by centering the window position is if I click the mouse wheel, it will turn as a button and will help me with the translation of the models. Okay, I really like when we're designing in CAD, just like positioning everything on the middle. Okay, good. Sorry for all this long initial part, but this is one. I am just trying to address the top questions that I receive on the phone like every day. Okay, good. So now what we need to do is we're digitally pouring an impression, okay, or we're doing the inversion technique. So here what we do, as you can see on the right side, we have the panels, okay, in BlueSkyPlan. So on the right side on the panel, we're working on the model manipulation, and then here we have the show limit. In the model reversal, we have the show limiting curve, and then we have in blue, that means that it's selected the functionality of drawing a curve. To draw a curve, again, you will hold shift button. This will turn an across, okay? And as I was saying before, you can just trigger the functionality by holding your shift mouse button, holding your shift on the keyboard, and then with the left mouse button, you will just press and drag. You're drawing basically the outline of the curve, okay? You can draw it like if it was a pencil, or you can just hold shift and the software will follow the points that you're doing, okay? Again, you can draw, okay? Or you can hold shift and point. I am being here on this area is the edentulous space where we're going to place the implant. So be careful when you are actually scanning or acquiring your data, that on the area that you will place your implant, you really want to have like the best quality of your scan. It's like when you're taking your impression, you take 2 steps. This is the area where you need to focus the most of the scan. So here is where you are actually taking the most care. Good. So once that you do that, you will just continue drawing the line. You have to close that curve. Again, as you can see, I will draw. Then once that I am not feeling very comfortable in this area because I don't see very well, I will just drag my mouse button. I will drag my models. Oops. I'll drag my models so I can see better. If I don't see, it will be very difficult to work. Okay. And well, again, that's something very, very, very common. So here, as you can see, the initial node is red. That means that it's an initial node. Okay. And now I have, oops. And now I have here the red dot that is gone. And the reason is because I close the curve. Once that you close the curve, now you can here, as you can see, I have an error. I have the nodes that they are not exactly the same. So you can just clarifying by drawing them, by drawing like before and after the area that you want to correct, or you can move your nodes using your mouse, but it's too time consuming. Okay, so drawing it's easier, at least for me. This is just one way of doing it. There are many ways of doing things. I'm just showing the way that I do it. And well, once that we have this curve all set, actually here I could get a little more. Fine. Okay, perfect. This is the buckle shift. Okay, good. So now we will, if we want to clear the curve for some reason, then we click clear curve and all this hard work will be deleted, or you can now click create inverted model. And this will literally digitally pour your impression by inverting the area of the impression tray that you marked, and will create a solid model out of it. By the way, these solid models, you can 3D print them and use them if you want it that way.
So while this is inverting, so can you just provide a little bit of a context? It's basically what type of scans are needed in order to create a surgical guide, and when is this used as opposed to a standard optical or model STL scan?
Sorry, Michael, you were cutting a little bit, but I think that you asked me about the type of data acquisition, something on the CBCT and the scan, but I couldn't hear you well.
Yeah, exactly. So some users are just, some watchers are just asking regarding the context of when this digital pour would be used, as opposed to just taking an optical scan or a model scan and importing the STL file.
Okay, I think that is a great question. So look, if you have an intraoral scan, if you have an intraoral scanner or a desktop scanner, of course, our images will be much more crisp than this, right? When you're not able to scan because you don't have a scanner, because you have a patient that needs a gagger, or you have a patient that is just impossible to take it, or the patient is gone, but you have a model of the patient, or it's heavily restored with metal, and it's so shiny that the intraoral scanner will not take it, and you don't have a stone model, then that's when you recur to the CBCT, okay? The CBCT models, I see them as a tool. I don't see them as an ideal tool, but if that's what you have, it totally works, and it works great. Same thing with impressions. Impressions, actually, it's a very underrated technique, because it takes you, I don't know, way less sometimes. If you don't have an intraoral scanner, then you don't know this yet, but at the beginning, the learning curve, it takes you quite a while to have a very good scan from the very beginning. And on the other side, you've been taking impressions forever since dental school, so this is a more familiar technique. So those are the situations, Michael, where I'll choose. Now, if you have, for example, a denture, or if you have, and you want to duplicate it, or you have a full arch that you want to do it, this is a much easier way of acquiring your data than intraoral scan and desktop scan. Okay. As you can see here, it might look somewhere like fuzzy. However, it doesn't have errors or of soft tissues overlapping, etc. I will be more than happy to later show some errors. That will be another good webinar, by the way. Some errors and tips and tricks and how to get the data acquisition. Okay. Well, here you will study the models. This is something that I really want to stress how important it is. So, for example, this is the dentulous area where we'll be placing the implant, right? But we have this defect. So what we do now is just click next. Okay, and now we are at our we are now at our CBCT. So for some reason, okay, the software couldn't align the impression tray. Okay, that happens. Actually, I'm glad that happened on the webinar, so you don't see like everything is perfect. Anyway, so here to align it better in the advanced, or now we're in the model editing module. So the way you do it to align this is you go to the model manipulation panel, or you go here, panels, model manipulation, right? And then what you do is on the right side, you will have all these panels. So you'll choose the model, which is the inverted mesh. You don't have any more. This is a drop-down menu. Okay, then you have mandible. And what you're going to do, here is the alignment part of your module. Always in BlueSkyPlan, we go from step number 1, from first to the last step of the protocol in the panel. So here we have the alignment, and we have another drop-down menu, and we will try to align this automatically. Okay, so this will try aligning the teeth with the CBCT automatically. Let's see if this works. Usually the way that I try to align my models is always first automatically, then by teeth. And if that doesn't work, I go by points, right? That's like from the easiest to the more time consuming type of alignment. But I want to stress how important it is to align your models properly. Okay, so this looks like it's aligned. I always say that it looks, because I cannot say it's completely aligned until I verify it. Okay, so the way that I verified there, and again, there are a million techniques. The way that I do it is I go to the sagittal, the cross-sectional view, and I click this button that is like these 2 triangles, and I just click it to maximize this window. And then here, I use the right mouse button to drag it so I can zoom in, the center mouse button to position it right in the middle of the screen so I can see, right? These are tools, and these tools have to work for me, not me trying to do whatever they want, whatever the computer wants. So here, what I'm doing is I'm scrolling over, and I want to check that this line is the outline of my model. Okay, so what I want to check is that all this line is following the contour of the models. So clearly here, I mean, it's very good alignment. However, you have this area on the cusps that is being constant since the incisal edges, that we have it in all of the teeth. So that means that, I mean, it's aligned, yes, it will work, yes, but we can improve this a little bit more. Okay, so here, for example, you can see that there is a defect, right? That's a defect on the model. I'm going to show you how to prepare this model, how to make it, how to fix it. Okay, and we keep scrolling so we can see the rest. Good. So we'll continue scrolling. This is important to do it. Okay, this is not something that you can just pass light. So you just check everything here. Again, we have that same constant that all my model has this incisal and occlusal area that is just a bit lower than the tip. It can be because as well the CBCT cannot take that sharp edges. Okay, so don't be that hard on yourself or on the equipment. So once that you have checked all the area and you are on the edentulous areas, okay, here on the edentulous areas, when you know what to look for, is actually one very powerful tool to know if this is aligned or not. Okay, so here you can see actually the radiopaque tissue, then radiolucent space, then radiopaque more. Of course, it's not completely radiopaque, and for you to say that this is not possible, I would love to show you how it is. But anyway, here it's the most important area because this is the area where you're going to place your implant. Okay, so you need to see at least that the outline of your models are right, following at least these shadows, so you can verify that it's fully seated on the model. Okay, good, perfect. So you finished checking this view, you're good. Now I do a second check, okay? And that second check will be on the axial view. So same thing on the axial view, I maximize the axial view, right? And I will slide the bar. This is with my left mouse button. I will slide the bar until I don't see any more videos. Okay, I learned this technique actually from Baron Grotter. I thought it was brilliant. So I will go to the most occlusal view. I know that this is an error of my model. I know that this is as well an error of my model. So I would not take that in consideration for the alignment process, right? So now I will just scroll with my mouse wheel. I will scroll down until I start seeing the cusps. Here, for example, I do, let me just stress this. So here, the model will start showing the cusps, right? As long as you start seeing model, you need to start seeing or watching the outline of your model. Again, we were saying that we have some discrepancy on the occlusal and incisals, right? Here we have part of the crown and we don't have model yet. So that confirms what we were looking. Okay, now appeared. And we continue looking for the same cusps, etc., etc. This is difficult because it is metal. However, if you have natural teeth, you will start seeing the same pattern all over the model. Okay, so what you want to see at least is that the very first tips of the model complies or align, stitch perfectly, and all the rest looks good. Okay, so this will work. Yes, this will work. And if I would like to fix that area because you want, for some reason, you want to be a perfect guy, of course you want to do it. You just position yourself on a point that you know that is clear for you that it was not perfect and that it's constant. Okay, here, for example, I will use this incisor and then just manual, select your model, and you will just, again, I'm showing this. If you've never done this before, just watch this video a few times. It will sound a little bit confusing in the beginning, but if you ever have a model that you cannot align, you want to look at this video, okay? So here we will just want to see this widget on the model and then position yourself with the mouse cursor anywhere on the screen. If we're in the cross-sectional, we can just put the mouse cursor on the cross-sectionals, and with the keyboard arrows, you just click one to the, to the arrow that it's pointing up, and you want to just double check. So now you can see that we are, again, this is constant error. That's good. Okay, at least it's not only 1 point. And that means that if you don't have enough space and you want to be very, very precise, now you have a very precise alignment. Okay, so try to do the least amount of all these movements, because trust me, you can be there like hours trying to align one very small thing. So you need to be like critical, but good critical on how to align. Okay, but also very specific on how to check if this is right or wrong. Okay, good. So now that you have this, let's go to the very next step, that is fixing your model. Okay, so you're preparing your data. This is very important. This is like in the surgical guides or anything in dentistry, and as well in digital dentistry, if garbage comes in, garbage comes out. Okay, so what the quality of the data that you're providing to the software, that will be the quality of product that you will get out of the software. Okay, so for that matter, I'm going to show you how to fix these models. I will try to go a little bit faster because I'm taking too long, but I'm sorry, there are like 1,000 videos on how to create surgical guides, but this type of detail is very important to mention here. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the 3D model view and I will make it large. I will enlarge, maximize it. And what I will do at this point in time is I want my CBCT out. Okay, how do I remove my CBCT out from this window? if you can see now in this version, you have this small face that is like a radio opaque skull and whatever. This is just the volume rendering settings, okay? So you left click on the volume rendering settings, and then you just check out the rendering. This will remove the CBCT and will also save you a few seconds and will allow you to focus more, not to having to go to the surfaces panel and then to the CT surfaces and then to click or allow the visibility or not of your CT. Okay, again, here is on this third button, rendering out, rendering in, it will allow your CBCT to turn on or off. Okay, so I will show you how to clean these models. For this, I will have to go to panels and then model edit. Remember that we are in the model editing module at this point in time. Okay, if you don't know where are you in the modules, you have to just look in the top right portion of your screen and you will see model editing. Okay, good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on the errors that we want to fix, but you have to focus on just one error at a time so you can fix them all quicker. Okay, so for this, I'll just center my error. I will fix this one, zoom in. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I will use my selection brush. This is a very powerful tool. I really like it. I use it for everything when I'm cleaning my models, okay, or doing digital extractions. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Okay, good. So for applying the selection brush, how do you do it? You use it this way. So you hold shift, as everything in BlueSkyBio. Every time you hold shift, you activate one tool, okay? And now, as everything in BlueSkyBio, with the left mouse button, you activate the tool, you trigger it, okay? By selection, changing the point of view, centering, comfortable, selection, changing the point of view, comfortable, selection again. And now you want to enclose all the defect or all the area that you want to clear or to heal. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we are going to select the cut selected area. Okay, before I do that, let me just, let's say that this happened to me, okay, and I really want to delete it. If it's a small error, what you're going to do is you're going to activate the tool, and then with the right mouse button, you will erase the area that you want to deselect. Okay, so again, selection is with shift left mouse button and deselection is with shift right mouse button. If you want to enlarge the area of action, you just hold shift and then scroll forward your mouse wheel, or you can just use this sliding bar on the bottom of the module or of the panel. I'm sorry, here where it says diameter, it will enlarge the size of the pixel of the diameter of the tool. If you slide the bar to the left, it should, wow. Okay, sorry about that. The selection brush diameter, it's above. And the brush tool, which it's another one that I'm going to show you later. First of all, the diameter of the selection brush, okay, on the top, hold shift, it's large, slide it to the left, now it's small in pixels, okay? Good, so now that you have selected that, you select the cut selected area, okay? And now you have a hole and you have as well a leftover or an excess of data. This excess of data, you can either just delete it by holding shift and double click. Double click will select the connected areas of any part that has triangles, any mesh. Okay, I'll click clear selection, or I can finish cleaning all my models and then I will isolate my model so I can clean everything together. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. So I will continue to to heal this area just for you to see how it's healed. In order for us to heal is by using the hole closing tool, then select holes manually. And when you click the select holes manually function, you will see that there is a highlighted area. And when you pass the mouse cursor through it, you will see that the highlight area, it actually highlights, okay? So you will just use the left mouse click on the holes that you want to close or that you want to heal. And what you do is here, you can see select all holes for selecting all of them, deselect all holes, or close selected holes. So for this, you will just use the close selected holes, and now this is completely healed. Okay. This being said, I will just proceed to do all the rest at a more efficient timing. I will just clean this and continue selecting all the rest here. For example, I want to delete also this. There we go. As you can see, it's important that you always get comfortable viewing so you can make this efficient. Okay, good. Now with that selected, let's go for more. Here. Okay, and there's another one right here. Good. So yeah, why not? We're on this. We're doing this, so let me just clean this as well. Okay, is this extremely important? No, this is not important. The only important area that I really care, it's just beside my implant. Since I'm showing the functionality, I want to do it, and also because I like it. Okay, good. So here where it says cut selected area, all the holes that I selected, they will be selected. And now I'm going to use the select holes manually. Okay, and I can select each one of the holes that I want to close only. I don't want to close, for example, all these areas that it's highlighted, right? I just want to close the hole with the left mouse button. And then, as if you were in Windows and you want to select multiple files, holding Shift and left mouse button will allow me to select multiple holes, okay? This is just common computer, so you have to apply that as well for here. And that's it. So once that we selected all these holes, you just click close selected holes. The software is really, really efficient doing these functionalities. And once that you do that, to get rid of all this, to disappear all this data, excessive data, what you do is we will go to panels, surfaces, and then here in surfaces panels, you will select first your STL surface. You will select the model, in this case, the green model. I just work by colors. It's easier. I just grab the green model, select it. Once that is selected, I'll go to the surfaces calling, select isolate, and left mouse click on the model. This will isolate all the areas that I want. If there is one extra error, you can always go back to the model editing module and fix it. All right. So just as that tool, you have a lot more tools. You have the smoothing brush tool. You have the add or remove material, right? So you have the local deform tool. For example, here, this, I removed part of the tooth. I know I removed it. So I could just grab this tool. I'm just doing it to show the functionality of this, and it will modify the model, right? So you have to use this carefully, of course, but you can do that. And not only that, but you can also verify that is accurate. And the way to verify that is accurate, please bear with me, have a little bit of patience. And again, this is for you to see this as a tutorial. Just pause it, play it, or fast forward it. And you can minimize this window. And then here on any of the views, you can just zoom in and check where you are. And you can see here, for example, the straight area is where I was now working. Here you can see the defect, the very small defect that is here. Okay, so if you're going to use your guide right there, and for example, this model is showing you that will impinge the crown with what I did, you can use this other tool. Pay attention, don't sleep, please hold on, bear on with me, because these are all tools that nobody know, that nobody explain, that I don't know well, or they're not explained. So it's really cool to know them. So now here you use the move outlines, and what you do is here on the actual two-dimensional views, right? So you will look at the defect that you want to improve, hold shift with the mouse, with the action tool, hold with the left mouse button, and you will be able to move the outline. So you can align this this better, and now it's perfect. Okay, so this tool, Michael showed it to me and I thought that it was brilliant. I use it so much every day. That's why I wanted to take the time to show it to you. Okay, so here we have another one just beside the implant area. By the way, you can know exactly where you are by looking at these crosshairs on the view, and you can just like drag this and just take it to this first molar. I know that I have a defect in there. I just want to show you again how this works. So here you can see that there is this straight line that will, okay. So maybe doesn't happen anything if I don't cure it. However, if I don't take care of this and I create a surgical guide, for some reason, it could be very tight in there, right? So again, what I will do is I'll go to my panels, model edit. Okay, move outlines, hold shift, and then just left mouse button, fix that. And you can see how the model is getting fixed as well. Okay. If you want more, you can go to the tangential surface and you can get as picky as you want on this error fixing. Okay, great. So now we're done with our model. Let's move forward to the very next step, which will be, again, bringing in our CBCT scan by rendering. Oops, I gotta go now to the surfaces, visible. There you go. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark my nerve, right? So this is new for the 4.9 version. So please go here to the button and the plus sign. And now what you're going to do is you're going to click here, this new button that it's called auto detect. So you can add a nerve. For adding a nerve, what you want to do is you want to position yourself on a two-dimensional view and just select the mental frame and trace your nerve manually. Detect nerve is by, when you click that tool, when you select that detect nerve, you have to go as well to either the 3D view or a two-dimensional view and then left click on the mental frame and area, or just click auto detect and then here, copy. And this will be very, I'm really impressed about the precision of this functionality. It's being really, really working great. So the artificial intelligence in this is really working in your favor. So let's see how it works. Okay, so, well, I always check the entrance and the exit. Then I minimize my window. I check my nerve here, going to the mental foramen. Okay, so here's my entrance. And once that I locate my entrance, I go all the way to the exit, just trying to look for a continuous way, trying to look in some areas that it's the cortical surrounding. Okay, if, in this case, the traced nerve is narrower, way narrower than the cortical area, what you're going to do is you're going to the nerve that it's already selected here as one, you can see, and then just scroll the mouse wheel and make it, oops, the 0, scroll the mouse wheel, and I just take it to 3 as a standard so I can have a very wide nerve. And you can just continue. If you see these nodes that are bold, these bold nodes means that you can modify the positioning of your nerve. Okay, so these you can just confirm going to the Raymond and just checking that you are on these radiolucent surfaces, going to the exit or to the most posterior area that the CBCT allows, and that's it. Okay. So if I want to be now, I'm missing my curve. So this is also one very frequent question. So I'm going to go to view, 2D, okay, and then dental curve. And now I'm going to have my dental curve in here. So if for some reason I'm not yet at the Raymond's, but I know that my CBCT just had it, then what I can do is here at the axial view, I can just drag these squares and just pull them to the limit of my CBCT field. And that will increase the field of view of my image. Same thing here. I'm going to just left click so I can move the crosshairs away. I grab these gray squares, put them on the center of the process, okay, and just follow. And basically the panoramic view that you see here below is not a real panoramic picture as you know it. It's just like a view to be familiar, but this is great for tracing the nerves. Actually, if you want to trace a nerve, what you do is you just grab these squares and place them surrounding the nerve passages. And as you can see now, you can watch the nerve easier. Okay. Actually, Corey Glenn has one very good video about how to nerve mapping. If you're doing like full arch cases or very complex cases or implants, like in this case, that you have very limited space to work, will be very good to have your nerve very well mapped. Okay, good. So now we have our nerve. Now we have our model stitched and fixed. And what we want to do at this point in time is start with the prosthetic space, with the prosthetic phase. Okay, again, at the prosthetic phase, what we want in the screen is only my model. At this point in time, the CBCT, it's not doing, at least for me, it's just like on the way of my focus. So I'll grab this rendering button out so I can focus on my model. I know that my nerve is well traced. So I'm going to go here on the top toolbar. Okay. And in this toolbar, if you look at the nerve without a plus sign, this is hide or show button. So this, I just want my model here. Okay. Because I really want my tooth. I want to place my tooth now. Good. So what I'm going to do now is I'll go to the tooth, to the add a tooth button, which is this molar with a plus sign. I'll click that and it will take me to the teeth library. Okay. So on the teeth libraries, it's very important that if you will use one of the modules, either the denture module or the crown and bridge module, you start using the libraries that they have this bulged or these ovate pontics on the cervical or the gingival area. Okay, for this, I go to the teeth geometry set, and this will give you a drop-down menu with all the teeth. So here we have the caps with roots, which are complete teeth, or we have the Brenes by Dr. Christian Brenes. We have these are like the Brenes are really one of my favorite. We have as well closed teeth, etc., etc. Dave Beach, this is a very, very good friend of mine in UK. All the best, my dear Dave. So here, I like a lot. You have the Bastien Delage, you have as well the Mitch Hurst and the Ozzy. I really like the Mitch Hurst. I think that they're really, really aesthetic. So let's just use either the Brenes or this one is really good as well. Okay. So let's just choose our tooth. So here I'll use my second molar. Click yes. Okay, so for some reason it didn't come, but I'm going to go again to the teeth, Mitch Hurst, select my molar, and then click OK. Once that you click OK, you will see this mouse cursor that it's a cross with a tooth. This will add a tooth. Okay, there's a plus sign with the tooth, so you will add it. You will left mouse click. You will click with your left. You understand? So now we'll just zoom in. Okay, and I'm gonna give you a workflow that it works for me since I was doing all as a lab. You can, first of all, maximize your window, okay? And you will always focus on a few positionings, okay? So I have first occlusal. So I will drag, you can drag your teeth by dragging the tooth, okay? Or using the widget to rotate. I always, either in the courses that I lecture or videos or wherever, if I'm doing clinical consultations in Lab Pronto, I suggest to only see like one circle at a time, and just try rotating the circles or the circles that you can see. Okay, if you can see the full circle, the full blue circle, it will give you full control of the movement of the rotation, right? However, if you want to try moving the red one, it's completely imprecise. So if you did that, just undo or Control Z and it will help you. And now what you want to do is you want to rotate, control your rotation, place the tooth in the most ideal position for this view, and then you change a view, okay? In computers, the less clicks is always more efficiently. It's here, I fix this view, okay? I might have more errors, but at least here is, I'll say that it's ideal view, okay? Then we'll position buccally. Same thing. We just, with the arrows, let's just continue now through an occlusal view. I want to see that this view is continuing all the way from the isthmus of my teeth. Confirm. Now I'm going to go lingual. Maybe I want to make this mesially and then turn it to create a speed. Okay. So I have this. Maybe this on the lingual will be a little bit bulky. So I want to move this. Okay. And then I will start now looking at the details on the buccal here. Maybe we want to have this less bulky. Okay. There you go. And as you can see, very efficiently, you can have your teeth positioned. Okay. Again, this is just one way of doing things. Okay, good. So next thing that I do, okay, and I want to be like very, there are a few ways of aligning an implant, okay? But until this point in time, you were doing a model, okay? What we're going to do now is we're going to add an implant from the tooth, okay? By right-clicking on this tooth and then select Align, a new implant. It will take you to the implant library. Now we're changing our mindset from the model editing to the surgical planning. Okay, so we finished all the digital wax up. I'm going to quote that word, but I'm going to do a virtual wax up of the tooth, a virtual positioning of the tooth, and then I am aligning an implant. Okay, so this is the implant library. On this implant library, you can select your implants. If we don't have the implants on the library for some reason, if we don't have them, just ask your implant company to provide them, and we'll be happy to add them. Email Michael at plan@blueskybio.com, and they will definitely be happy to do it. Okay, good. So now, but if we do have it, for example, here, I'm going to work with BlueSkyBio implants. Here in the implant orientation, I'm going to select mandible, right? And then I'll select from the implant system. We have all this. I think that, Michael, how many implant libraries we have now, or did you add like a lot more in the last quarter, no?
Yeah, I think we're over 70. I think we have more than 70 implant libraries in the software.
Mm-hmm. And we're coming now with more abutments and make it more complete each time. Okay, good. So once that we selected the brand of the implant, then we can select now the model of the implant, okay, or the type of the implant. Here, for example, I will use the Biomax, okay? And I will use as well, or why not, you know, we're in a second molar. You could use either the BioForte or you can use the BioMax, okay? I would use here, since we have very limited vertical height, I'm gonna use either a BioMax, a short BioMax, or a Forte. So here I'll use a BioMax. I'll start planning a 5 by 8 millimeters. Let's see if we have space. And we will add the abutment as well. That's very important to do now. So we will just click here on the top area. You have implant, abutment, software, guide tube, and pin. Okay, abutment, you will have the list of abutments. If your implant company doesn't have it, change your BlueSkyBio, we'll have them all. And if we don't, just add a custom abutment. And then either you can go to software guide tube, where you can change the guide tube here, or you can select here the bone fixation pins. Same thing, we have a ton of different brands for pins. This is for bone fixation. When you're doing like full arches or you need extra fixation, use these guys. So here you will go to the abutment, then select abutment. And as you can see, now we have all the abutments that I showed on the website. And we are actually, we're very close now to bring all the longer thigh bases. Here in the software, we have as well the scan bodies, okay? So I'm gonna choose for this case, as I told you before, the ABJ HNPN, which is a non-engaging. I show you before on the website. Then we'll just click OK, and this will align automatically the tooth and the implant. You don't see it? Here it is. Okay, good. So now we're finished on the tooth. We're finished on the models, and now we do need all the two-dimensional views, all the CBCT information that we can have, all the nerves, etc. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change modules. We're done here with the model editing module. Okay, so we will click here on the model editing module, advanced. Okay, this will take us to the advanced module, advanced surgical module. Okay, to go back to the view that we had before with all the 5 panels, all the 4 panels with the 3 cross-sectional views, we need to just minimize this button. Okay, good. So now let's bring first our nerve so we can see where we are. And let's start planning the implant. So here we'll first double click on my implant. That's the way that I go to the implant list. Okay, and now I'll position my view on the cross-sectional view. I'll scroll the mouse wheel, and now I'm going to start dragging the implant to the most ideal position. And then I rotate my implant. Okay, now I think that I'm too close. I don't know if I'm too close. How can I know? I need to measure. So I grab my ruler and I want to start tracing. At least this is the way that I do it. Again, there's like 1,000 different ways of doing it. I grab the ruler here and I trace from the nerve, from the cortical of the nerve, 2 millimeters. If I can, that would be great. Then from the lingual, thinnest portion, 2 millimeters. Buccal, 1.5. Same thing here. There you go. And on the occlusal, sometimes if I don't have space. So what I'm going to do now is I need to make or try to make this implant to fit on this area. If it doesn't fit, then I'll use a 6 millimeter implant. Okay, so I will rotate now and continue scrolling. Okay, so I'm now on the root. I don't want that. So I will move away my implant and always aim to use this axis towards the central fossa of the tooth that I'm planning to do now. Okay, continue scrolling. And I am definitely not very happy with the positioning of this implant. So I'll place a 6 millimeters. So I right click, replace, and I'll use a 5 by 6. Okay, now I have a short implant, subcrestal. to the central fossa. This is definitely much better. Okay, I'll position it right here and start scrolling so I can see all the areas. Lately, what I've been doing is, okay, so there is something that I need to mention. Here on the tangential view, on this view where you see the 360 degrees of your implant, there are two ways of using it. One, by having the view with the axis on the, actually on the curve, okay, but this view gets me a little bit dizzy. Or you can just click this second button that it's having the implant axis as a vertical and everything around rotates but your implant. So this will allow you to have a more focused view and really get a better perspective on what you want here. Okay, so good. Here I will place this according to this two-dimensional perspective. Again, I'll trace from the root 2 millimeters at least. Good. From the nerve 2 millimeters if possible. So there you go. I'm right there on the money. Okay, good. And now at the money. And now I'll just, I like 1.5 subcrestal if I can. Then here, I'll just move this measurements with the left mouse button. I move the measurements. Okay. If I need to move my tooth, I just left click on my tooth and I just modify the position if I think it's necessary. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to, here on the implant list, on the ID, double click on the ID. Okay. And select here, for example, this will be, okay. Yeah. Then if you want, you can just ID this, click on this camera, take a screenshot, save the screenshot, and start making your drill report from the very beginning, okay? This way is the best way for you to control your cases. You're basically starting the case before the patient comes and you have everything under control. So good, now let's review again all this measurement. So yeah, I am at the money again. So yeah, here I have about 1.4, 1.5. I could be a little bit more buckle here. Okay. Is this the only way of planning this case? No, I bet that there are many ways of planning it. You could use a custom abutment and going completely lingual through it. I will use this this approach. I think that that's something that I would do on my on me as a patient, on any, my mother, whatever. This will be something that I trust. Yes, I do trust Biomax being a narrow platform implant and a posterior. Yes, I don't like technomolars, but I would do it for sure. So good. So now we're ended up with a subcrestal positioning of our implant. If you think that it's too subcrestal, you can always just select the implant and move it more crestally. And every time that you make a movement, continue checking. Why I say this? Because now I moved it and I'm too close. Probably I'm too close here on the crest. So if I have a question, I just measure. It's about 1.2, 1.3. I can always just move this lingual and then just change this. Good. Okay, so again, I will look for the area scrolling where is my measurements, which is right here. Oops. If I did a movement that I didn't want it to do, I just click undo, like on this time. And here, if I want to remove this ruler, right click on the, either on the number or on the measurement, right click, remove, and trace again. Again, as I told you, this is the advanced way, or at least this is the way that I plan the cases for the Lab Pronto surgical guides that I do, and also for the patients when I go to lecture in courses, or I don't have patients anymore. I will definitely try to get it, but that's some point in time. So now here, I'll take this picture I already took it. So now I will need a we already have a mesiodistal view. Now we have, I want, okay, a buckling view. So here I have this. Now another screenshot. Perfect. So I have now all the views that I need. Good. There's another way of planning the implants. This, I've been really liking it a lot, or at least to control the placement or to confirm the placement in a, I say that it's a very interesting way. So I maximize the 3D view, right? And then I check my crown position. Do I like this? Probably. Yeah, I mean, I can't complain that much. So yes, I'll leave it this way. And now I'll render in the CBCT. Okay. I render out the model. So let me render out the model by clicking here on the fourth button. You will see this STL models. So you render out your model. Okay. You increase the threshold so you can see the bone completely, the bone thickness. Okay. Having all this information here on the CBCT, you need to use it. It's really amazing what you can have with your CBCT. So here is your implant, soft crystal, amazing. Okay, so I'll grab here another very nice feature that I use a lot, which is the filters. So left click again on the rendering presets. Okay, and then on the presets, I'll use here either a transparent bones or the MIP, right? The MIP will give you like an X-ray view that you can actually see your implant three-dimensionally here, okay, virtually. So this is something that I've been making myself to plan this way, and it's a really, I think that it's a very nice way of planning. It's more efficient, believe it or not. Is away from the two-dimensional world. I am more now in the 3D. So here you can see basically all your positions, all your positioning, sorry, and that way will give you a better perspective of what are you going to see clinically with your patient. Okay, good. So if you finished here with your rendering, you will, why not? You will take here anything that you might want to take in consideration while you are planning. For example, here, if you want to take another picture, you grab your camera here, save a screenshot, or save a screenshot here. Why not? Again, going to the presets, go to surfaces to go back to the original view. I mean, I don't know what's a aspect of this patient at this point in time, but there are many cases right there. There are many cases that the patient is not having the mouth as open as this one, but if we're working on anterior teeth, you can even overlap the anterior teeth this way, and you have, it's not a face scan, but it's pretty close. And the cases, the anterior cases that I do using this technique so far, have been giving great results using this, okay? You can see the tongue, you can see the tray, you can see everything. Okay, good. So once that you have all this, then you're practically done with your surgical plan. Okay, you go to your implant list, you block your implant. Okay, this is your surgical planning. Now you have to place your implant virtually. How you do this? Doing by selecting the drill kit that you will be using for this surgery. Okay. This is going by here where it says drill kit is a very in the implant list. Again, to get to the implant list, you can on the right side, you will see all the panels that you have open. Okay, or you can just double click on your implant and will bring you here to the implant list. Okay, so here on the drill kit, I will select the BlueSkyBio fully guided surgical kit. I will bring in my guide tube. Okay, the guide tube, I will show it to you right now. The guide tube will basically be the hole that I'm creating inside of the surgical guide that will house and will limit the movement of my drills or my guided drills. Okay, so now I want to minimize this window. Again, I'm going to go with the tangential view. This is the way that I do it. There's 1,000 ways. And I just check that, number one, I make sure that I have the outline of my model. If I don't have the outline of my model, I go to the surfaces panel. Again, I want to stress something. BlueSkyPlan it's a software that will have all the tools for you. You just need to know exactly what you want. So here, what you want to do is you want to always look at the outline of your model in the two-dimensional views. Okay. So what you want to see is is view the outline of the model. Where do you have the models? In the STL surfaces. So you go to the surfaces panel. And here in the surfaces panel, you look for the STL surfaces. Then you make sure that you have the hint on the two-dimensional view activated so you can see the outline of your models. Okay. Once that you have this, then you scroll all the way 360 degrees first. If you see that your golden, like these two triangles, let me log the tooth first. So right click on the tooth, log the tooth. And also here on the top, you have this tooth button that it hide or shows the tooth. So I'm going to hide it now. I don't really want it right now in the view. The only thing I care at this point in time is of my surgical placement or my guide tube, right? So this guide tube will be scrolling in. So here, for example, I know that I'm impinging on the tissue. So if the surgery will be flapped, it's okay. I can handle. I can have this space. However, if I'm going to do a flapless surgery, it's very important that in order for the guide to fit or to sit properly, these guide tube, these square, these rectangles, this golden tube, however you want to call it, this part must be not touching on the inner L, on the inner angles, not touching anything or not impinging with anything. Okay. So for this, I have two options. One option is right click on the implant, unlock it, and then with the mouse, just move the implant crestally, or using the advantage of a fully guided kit and right click on the implant, software guide tube raise. And then the software will automatically move the drill. Basically here you're placing the implant deeper. How? With a longer drill. In other words, what you're doing at this point in time is you're grabbing your, let me take you right away. Again, this is one of the top 10 questions that I receive every day with the users. So you go to the guided keyless kit. Actually, you can look at these videos. But what I'm doing at this point in time is basically this. So I am telling to the software, number one, I know that as a user, if I modify the tube, I will be using the variable height driver to place my implant, right? To make the osteotomy, I know that I didn't have enough space with the 6mm drill, and I need to make my osteotomy longer or deeper. How? With a longer drill. Okay, so that's exactly what the software is doing now when it's raising the tube. So good. Here we know that it's exactly our scenario right now. We don't have enough space. Okay, for whatever reason, we had to increase the offset. The software did it automatically. Okay, this means that in this case, in the video, they're telling that they're using a longer drill to place a shorter implant. In this case, we will use, more than likely, I didn't see the offset yet, but more than likely, I'll see a 10mm drill. So let me go back to the planning here and double click on my implant. Okay, and I will go to the software guide tube area where I can see the offset. Okay, so one rule, the offset, the regular offset, let me go back. So here, implant, and then software guide tube default settings. The regular offset of all the BlueSkyBio drills is 8mm. Okay, That means that from your drill, like the hub, the guided hub of the drills, I don't know why it's giving me trouble with this viewer. Okay. The guided portion of your guided drills will be always 8 millimeters. Okay. Let me give you a visual on that. So the guided portion of your drills here, of all these drills, from the very, very first drill to the very last drill. Okay, here we have it. Okay, good. So this will be the very first drill, the profiler drill. Okay, this profiler drill will give me 2 millimeters, so I can make all the osteotomy deep enough to forgive this bevel. Okay, so all these drills, they have a common 8 millimeter offset. That's a guided portion. If I'm increasing the offset from 6 millimeters drill, which has a 8 millimeters, and I'm increasing it to the very next drill, which is the 8 millimeter drill, then the offset will change from 8 to 10, right? I hope that it makes sense. Just think about it we're changing the drill for a longer drill. That will make much more sense and will be easier to try to make all the astronomical counts and calculations in there. So here, I'll just right click, software guide to raise. There will be some times that even that you're trying to raise, the software will give you an error. So what you're going to do in this point in time is hide your model from the screen and try to raise it again. This will delete that error. We just check now. Okay, so good. Now we're finished with all this. And then we just click on the exclamation signs. This is a known situation or a known, I don't want to call it bug, but it's just a known issue that happened every time on the new version, which the drill kit warning will appear in every single treatment plan that you're doing. Okay, and the way to remove this warning is to go here in the validation settings where it says implant drill kit warning. You just unmark it and that's it. Okay, good. So now you have your surgical planning complete, all set. You know already that you will be using your 6 millimeter, your 5x6 millimeter Biomax, that it's 1.5 millimeter soft crestal, that you're using your non-engaging sky-based abutment or your titanium-based abutment, non-engaging for this crown, and then you're using an 8 millimeter drill for the osteotomy, and then on the placement you're using the variable height driver 2 millimeters deeper on the placement, right? So you have all that information right here now in your planning. Great. If you don't have it in your planning, you will have it where? On your drill report. And that will be something that will be delivered to you when if you outsource it. If you don't outsource it and you plan them yourself, please always remember to go here to the screenshots area, have your drill report made here, drill report. Okay, you will take a series of pictures, then you create your PDF, and here in the notes is the area where you just type very specific osteotomy length, placement length. So here, for example, osteotomy with 8 millimeter drill. This will be like for me to remember it, right? And then here, placement with variable here. For example, I use variable height driver here up to second mark. Okay, the second mark on the variable height driver, it's the same offset changes from 8 to 10 to 12.5. Then you click OK. Here we'll have all the drilling protocol for my drilling sequence, which is now updated and it's very precise now. You can see how you start here using the variable, the drill G flat going all the way, just using, this is really cool, just using here, just 6 drills for the osteotomy and then your driver. And actually, when you get more experience using this one, you can start with the 2, then the 2.5, then you can start 1 and 1 and finish with it, okay? And always do, as you can see here, the 6mm drills, and then at the end, once that you achieve your width, then you start making your depth. So you will do horizontal osteotomy first and then vertical, right? Okay, I hope that it's that there are many questions, because now I think that I talked a lot, and I will go now to the crown and bridge module. So if there are any questions with, I hope that I didn't bore you too much or
Right.
turn to fire
I've
heights.
been answering some of the questions that came in, but we've received a few requests to demonstrate how to turn the tooth into a crown. And since
Oh yeah, that's exactly what we're going. Yes, correct.
perfect. So maybe we could use that to wrap up the webinar.
Yeah. We're done with the surgical planning. Now thank you for you guys that you're asking for that question, because that's exactly the next step. Okay, so we're done with the surgical planning. What we need to do now is we need to turn on our model. So we're gonna go here to show my model. I don't need any more my CBCT, so I hide it. Okay, and now what I need to do is I need to change my module here, modules, and then crown and bridge. So I'm going now to the crown and bridge module. Okay, here we have the visibility. Let me just show here the tooth. Let me show here the model and the implant. We'll go to the restoration design panel. And then here on the restoration design panel, we'll select the restoration type. You have either conventional crown, which will create a margin, and a cemented crown. And as well, you can do the crown on a tie base. Okay, you will select crown on a tie base, select the location, the mandible. And now we will select here the model. If we have multiple crowns, we'll select the tooth. We'll select the abutment. If we have an opposing, then we select the opposing here as well. And then we will click start for starting the protocol. Here, it's very recommendable. Actually, the software will ask you to do it. So you go to the folder where you have these cases, and now we will just grab the folder where you have your patient. You can create a new folder, for example, and you place here like surgical plan or whatever name you want to put this to your surgical guide and crown. Okay, and just name the folder, name your case. For some reason, they give me this error. Anyway, I hope that it doesn't crash. So let me just go file, save project as, and I'll just click here, save. You have to always be careful with that part, because there are like hours working, and you definitely need to save your work before doing any change of modules actually. So we'll start here on the very first step, which is creating your insertion direction. To create your insertion direction, what I do is basically I will look for this green axis. This will be your screw channel. This will be the long axis of your implant. Okay, so you can position your insertion direction from here, or if you will angle your restoration, you will position your prosthetic insertion axis. Okay, so for this case, I will use the screw channel as my insertion direction. I do want to see, there you go. Here, I don't want to see the most that I can of my adjacent interproximal surface, okay, to remove undercuts. I think this side is way better. Okay, Good. Now set insert direction from view. You click that button, and then you will see that this circle with the arrow will follow that. Okay. Again, as I said, this will create an undercut. I want that undercut to be just covering enough for not creating black triangles, or for not covering all the papilla basically here, or the caul. What I want now is just turn this arrow. Okay, perfect. Now it works. Once that I have this, you can just click next. This will create as well a path of insertion. Not only for, well, yeah, for the restoration. Now it's creating an undercut model. And we'll now, well, the software will save this. Meanwhile, it's saving, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them all. Or at least one that I can.
There's a couple of questions that came in regarding how do you resize the virtual tooth if you want to make it smaller or larger?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me show you real quick. You can do this on the resizing. You can go to the teeth editing panel. Okay. In the teeth editing panel, you can select your tooth, okay, and change it. You have all these tools to smooth the global geometry, add removal, local, etc., that you will be also able to modify it once that you've finished once that you go in the workflow for the crown fabrication. Okay, so, and actually the reason why I didn't touch it is because we already had that on the wax up, but thank you for asking that. So it's answering your question is on the teeth editing, in the teeth edit panel. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to define the interproximal area. I need to define the interproximal area. If I didn't make, if I just position initially my tooth and I'm just going, I'm moving forward, I can't use this, the algorithm of the software for placing the implant. So for doing this, in order to do this, you will hold Shift, activate the tool, then left click on the interproximal surface. Okay. Or if you already placed the wax up, then you can just avoid doing this and just skip it. And if you're very happy with the placement of your tooth, you just do not modify, you select this, do not modify crown, shape, or movement. Okay. Let me show the crown by going to the teeth surfaces panel, and then make visible my tooth. Okay. So I want to show where my interproximal surface is. I'm going to go back to the restoration design panel. Okay. And here now, just because I am happy with the positioning of the tooth, I will just select here, do not modify crown, shape, or placement. Okay. And then we'll just click next. So I forgot to mention, to paint or to add the interproximal, you hold Shift and then left mouse click to paint, basically to define this area, or you hold Control and the left mouse button to remove, to erase that same area, right? So in the model editing panel is with the right mouse button, here on the teeth editing panel is with Control. At least on this version, please note that, so it's easier for you. Okay, good. So now this is doing a curve intersection. Okay, if we bypass this, I want to apologize first for my computer is getting slow, but anyway, this should give us the next step fairly quick. In the meantime, I can totally answer any questions that they might be arousing.
Okay.
Right.
How do you check occlusion?
Great question. So in order for you to check occlusion, what you need to do is, now it's not gonna, the software will not allow me to move, but what you do is you go to teeth surfaces, okay? And you will select the closeness to the opposing model, assuming that you have an opposing model. You select both surfaces, the tooth and your model, and then the software will paint with red heat map where you have all your interferences, okay? And the software will remove the high occlusal collisions automatically on the final step if my computer wants to show us the full workflow. Okay, so I will wait. Of course, this is a live webinar, so that's why this is happening. So anyway, any more questions? Meanwhile,
there's a question if we're able to invert existing teeth, which is a functionality that we don't yet have in the software. So you can't, you're right, you can't invert an existing tooth.
We will have it, but now it's not possible. Now what I want to show you is to make this restoration that, of course, it worked and now it doesn't. So let me try opening another case. I mean, it's not crashed yet, but it's been taking longer than usual. So here, good. So let me here try opening another case real quick. If it opens, then great. But for some reason it's delaying, and usually never takes more than, like, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds. Good. So yeah, it's still okay. So let me quick getting to that point where we are in this case. This shouldn't be happening. This is not normal. Definitely, I don't think that this will be happening to you or me once that we finish the webinar. Anyway, let me get to this area real quick. So here we have our implant, we have the tooth. Okay, we hide the implant at this point in time. Let me check this. Okay, it's perfect. Let me go now to here, the lower jaw scan, and here, this one. Let me now go to the, again, modules, and then crown and bridge. Yeah, it's being stubborn. Sorry about that. So let me try advancing on this other case that I have. So we're going to go here, module, then crown and bridge. Again, I will start here on the restoration design panel. So here for Doctor, for you that asked about the changing the position of these tooth, you will select the tooth, then manipulate model if you want to move it. Big arrows is for moving from the axis. Small arrows is for changing the pivoting direction. And then the nodes are for scaling the tooth size. Okay. If you want to use more tools, you have here the smooth tool, which will smooth basically the area. You have the global geometry tool, which will give you here 9 points of changing for each view. And it will move the tooth, or it will modify the tooth according to the area that it's modifying within these 9 dots or 9 points. Okay, this will preserve better the shape or the anatomy of the tooth than the like the generic tools, right? And as well, you can just go back to your tooth and here use the local geometry transform, hold shift, and then you can here use the regular geometry tools that we all know from the design softwares, right? That you can just select your area that you want to modify and just change it, change the shape of it. Okay, good. So, and if you don't like what you did, you just undo, and you're done. Okay, good. So let me try starting here the workflow here, crown and tie base, mandible. So I have the model, I have the crown, I have the here, I need here a titanium base. Okay, so let me go back real quick to the area here. And I'm gonna just change here for the BlueSkyBio. And I will grab the implant here. I will replace my implant. And I'm gonna just use the BlueSkyBio here. Any of the implant will be fine. Here again with the max and then the abutment, select the abutment, and I'm gonna go for the non-engaging. It was exactly the one that we were using before. And now I will go again to the crown and bridge module. I still can't believe that it's still doing the intersection curve. So I will try doing this case, and if this happens again, I'll just record a webinar. I'll record a video about doing this, a tutorial. Actually, I'll do it anyways. For doing the crown and bridge module. Okay. Now here, crown and tie base, you select the orientation, select the tooth, select the abutment. Okay, this has to be, I'm glad that this happened. So if you right click transparency, you can see through. You have to work with the library abutment. That's important to mention. Okay. So we will start here and we're going to go to select the insertion direction. Go through the in between the interproximal surfaces and the long axis of the restoration. Set insertion direction here from view. Confirm. Okay. And then just advance, go to the chevron arrows. The chevron arrows. And the other case, just still thinking. Good. So here I can select the interproximal, hold shift, and select my interproximal surfaces. Just by a point. I will do select this time that can modify my shape or my placement. Good. Okay, so here now we have it. We're back in business. That's good. So let's go again to the teeth surfaces. Let me see the teeth surfaces. All the surfaces that are, or the teeth that are being designed now, they have a D for design. So it's D mandibular custom crown. You will here just select it as visible. For whoever was asking about the occlusion, what you do here is if you have your opposing tooth as well, you select the closeness with the other model, okay? And it will show you that closeness with the red area. For example, if I use the closeness to my model, for example, it will mark on the areas that is impinging. As you can see here, it's turning red or pink because it's close, okay? Good. So, and basically here you're telling to the software, I want you to show me if my tooth, so the first thing that you are selecting is your tooth, is impinging on the model. So the second thing that you will be showing here is your model, and the dots will be painted on your model. If you want your points to be painted on your teeth, then you do it. Then you select first your model, and then you select your tooth, and then the red the marks will be here in there. Okay. Nice. So now what we do in this step. Sorry about that. I didn't want it to have any hiccup here, but this is life. Okay, good. So now we will select the custom crown, a margin, the emergence profile. This is the area where I can definitely send you, if you request for them, a few articles about the emergence profile, Dr. Salaman, Dr. Ernesto Lee, Dr. Shu. There are many, many amazing clinicians that they describe very well the emergence profile, how to understand it, and how to work with it. So anyway, if you follow that, you can just here create the contour for the restoration to join the abutment. Okay, so the way that I do it, at least, is I position myself so I can see through my crown, and I hold shift and draw the areas that I want to be covered by the restoration, right? So here, I can draw. This is basically like if you're drawing the limits of your crown. Okay. Okay. Good. So now I will just make sure that this is not necessarily touching the contour here of this crown, because what you see here, it might give you all this gigantic space that you don't want to be having this over contouring of your restoration, right? So if you put this line a little bit lower, it will give you that profile better. Okay, it doesn't have to go all the way around here, as ideal is marking the software, because it will be too low. Let's see. Yeah, it'll be too low comparing to the cervical surfaces of the adjacent teeth. Okay. Good. There you go. You can also move this by just a point, holding shift and your left mouse button. Okay, now go to the, or you can as well, this very, very good tool from the software, you can as well project your margin. This will take in consideration not only the shape of the tooth, but as well the insertion direction that you selected from the very beginning. Okay, if you see something like this, please go back and then just draw it yourself. I just did Control Z, or you can do undo on your keyboard. Next step, I'm going to be finishing within like the next 5 to 10 minutes, so please bear with me. I know that this has been long, but I've been trying to be as thorough as possible. Okay. And well, now it's merging the crown with what? With your abutment. The very first step now is doing your emergence profile. Good. So as we can see, here we have the emergence profile. And here is the reason why I'm telling the projection of the margin compared to the one that we did on the facial, okay, on the buccal. So if we have something like that, we can just go back, retrace the margin. Here, it's clearly telling us, hey, I want this to be more cervical. Okay, good. And now we will just click next. Let's see the other one. Yeah, the other one's still intersecting the curve. Maybe in a few weeks, this will be ready. So here, I know it's my computer, but sorry for that. Okay. So here, now it's saving the project. So you can see now it's better. And if you would like to completely modify this, you will be able to do it in the subsequent steps as well. Okay, good. So I have just a technique that works for me. If you have other, it will be great that you comment or ask for placing them. It will be really good to know more techniques. The way that I start working with this is I position myself in a way that I can see what I don't like. So here, for example, this emergence profile is not bad, but it's not the best. It can get better, but for example, this is not the best that I've seen. So now I position myself here so I can see the emergence profile all around. Let me see them easier. Good. Good. So I position myself here and I start moving the crown margin. Okay, this crown margin will move basically how intersects the crown with your first nodes. Okay, with your first edit nodes. So I move the crown here. I move these nodes. You can just move them here. Continue moving the crown margin until you can see like a very easy. So what you want to see in the subcritical and critical contours is concave and then convex. Okay. So here you're creating concave and a concave area and then a convex area. So here. And also for the lab perspective, having this type of restorations it's very important to have it. As a clinician, it's also very important to have it. So once that we have once that we have this area completed, here, let me just get the crown margin. There we go. Okay, now I use the titanium-based margin. This will help the union between the abutment and the emergence profile. Good. So I know by a fact that this area at this point in time, I will not be able to change it, right? So what I'm going to do is I will just move to the next step. And also if it's too long, actually, I know that I could make this margin just more coronal, and it would be as well very good. But so here I have now the crown. And at this point in time, I will use the smooth tool. And then with the mouse wheel, I will just make it strong and large enough to polish or to smooth all this area at the emergence profile area. Okay, subgingival. I'm sorry, at the critical and the subcritical contours. Okay, great. So I smooth all this. At least, again, that's one way that I do it. This just take a few seconds and then use the local deform tool in this area. And you just correct this. You make a very large area. And then by making small controlled movements, you will be able to modify whatever you like or not about your restoration. Okay. And now, okay, now this is looking more decent. Okay, great. Here, there you go. I will make the contact, the interproximal surfaces. Here, I will pull this in the margins. Margin of which here, there you go. Here, I'll just make this larger. Okay, so you modify whatever you can you want to modify. You make your interproximal contacts and contours as you want. And once that you finish, make sure that you don't have the concavities anywhere on the clinical crown. Here, always the body, the tongue, etc., they like more convex surfaces. Okay, good. So here, okay. So once that you finish, you select the cut approximal intersections. Click next. And now you have a restoration. As you can see here from the underside, you have a restoration that it's been basically finished. If you want to finish the restoration even more and you want to modify anything, then you can go here to the teeth edit panel, okay? And then you can either smooth or global deform tool, add or remove material, or do whatever changes that you want to your restoration. But the most important thing that you want to know is that this is already a crown, okay? So this area is already a restoration. How can I check if these are restoration? So I'll go to the teeth surfaces, check out the visibility of my models. I right click on the abutment, toggle transparency on my implant as well. I can even toggle the visibility out. And here you will have your screw retain restoration ready to do it, right? So we're finishing this case, for example. I can always go and make more changes if I want to do it. And now let's say that I want to export it. So I'll go to the file, export data. Here I already, here I have not exported the surgical guide yet, but as you can see, you have a cost 0 when you select your crown, okay? If I do the surgical guide, okay, for this will not charge me because I already exported it, but the crowns will always be cost 0. And if you have a milling unit, the software will give you the CAM file, the construction file for your milling unit for milling that restoration that we just did right now. Okay, so you can always export it with or without your titanium base. And if you're using a sprint ray, for example, you can export this directly to the rayware. Speaking about the printers, the Accurata printer, it's a great printer that I really like printing my temporaries and my restoration. So far, all the temporaries that I make, it's really a nice printer. It's also cheap. Not cheap, is low cost. Okay, so here I'll just do the export, and if I want to export, I'll just take it to my desktop, whatever. Click OK. Yep. And now this is exporting the restoration. Okay, the other one is not finished yet. I'm so glad that I started the other case. But you can see here the crown. This is the construction info. That's the XML file. That will be for your milling unit. And this will be the custom crown that we created for this. For the finishing, for the surgical guide fabrication, for the finishing of the surgical guide fabrication, I'll just finish right now. Actually, no, I can't because it's frozen. But you can just follow what Dr. Mickley did last time, or I can do it on this other case. For example, if I have this defect, whatever, I know that I have this defect on my tooth. Okay, it will take me like 5 seconds to remove it with a burr, or you can go back to the software and do it. It will just take more time, and I really like more efficient workflows. For these, I can always polish it with my hands and just finish it like really fast. So that's something that you have to take in consideration. The software will give you always like 90%, and then you have to give the next, the final 10. Whatever you do on your computer, it will take you much more time than 5 minutes using a burr and your hands that you're way more familiar using those. Okay, so this is still on the intersection curve. But anyway, I think that we finished the workflow that I wanted to show you with the restoration. From here, you'll just go to the implant planning. As you can see here, continue to implant planning. then showing the model will be the very next step, and showing the guide tube here. I'm going to implant this, showing my guide tube, checking that is outside of the model. A software guide tube and race, checking again until it's not impinging, so I can do it again if you want. Okay, great. Now go to the surgical guide panel, assuming that everything is checked and perfect. Right click on my implant, or just here, I'm sorry, on the advanced module, advanced, lock implant and virtual teeth, draw curve. And here I'll hold shift and start placing my points. I like going all the way to the CEJ. Here, where I am intersecting with the guide tube, I do like to have a thicker portion of the guide. Number one, because I don't want my guide to break. Number two, because if I'm making a flap, the flap will rest right here. Okay, so they'll have two functions. And now I will just create my guide. I like my guides to have at least a curve to be more stable. Okay, here I'll just cut at the half of a tooth, at the middle of the mesiodistally of a tooth, and just go back all the way in the lingual. Once that we're finished with this, we can start checking for any improvements that you can do to the design of the curve. Hold shift and draw all this. In these areas, I do like, as I said, a little bit more of thickness. There you go. I do like that. And now you can just create your surgical guide. If you want to create a window, then you can just add your window before or after now and create a surgical guide over that. It will give you a nice surgical guide so you can export and 3D print. But I think that this part you can definitely take advantage on watching Dr. Mithley's video, or for sure you can take these steps as well. I know that I said them fast, but just as I said before, just pause and play, and it will give you all the ideas as well, so you can follow. Michael, anything you want me to say or any questions that I can answer?
No, I think we should wrap up the presentation.
Yeah.
Let me look, maybe there's one question that we have time for, and then I think we're already a bit over time, so we should finish things
Yeah,
up.
I know. Thank you, everybody. I hope that you could bear here with me all the time, but I really wanted to explain all these parts, that they are like the top asked questions for users. So tell me.
Okay, let's just take a question here regarding printers. Are there any particular printers that you recommend, or which printers do you specifically use?
Well, I have a few. I have like 13 printers. I don't really. I think that on printers, if this will be your first one, go for either Formlabs or SprintRay or Accurata. Those will be like a very, very good entry level. Any of those, any of the three will be good because they have validated resins that are like plug and play. We sell the Formlabs in BlueSkyBio. We sell the Formlabs and the SprintRay, I think at a very competitive price. And some of them with included warranties. I think that now at this point in time, Formlabs is a better deal. It's $4,500, and you definitely want all these extras. You do want the warranties. You do want the full coverage and the support, and definitely you want to buy as well the cure and the washing unit. Okay, if it's for SprintRay now it's okay. Sorry, let me just show you. For your questions, yes, it does print models. It prints surgical guides. It prints models for ortho, it prints dentures, it prints teeth for temporary and very long-term temporary resins, okay? And these are really, really good. So for example, this temporary resin is an amazing resin for temporary crown and bridge. I really like it. I think that it's a great resin. It's a Bigo resin. Oh, and actually have here this one that it says permanent crown. Okay, so it's claimed permanent. It's impressively good. Okay, does require on the building platform, it does require a stainless steel because it's so abrasive that it will just abrade the building platform really quick, and it will turn like black on the prints. Okay, but it's a very nice resin. Actually, this one, if you remember Empress, I don't know how old are you, but if you remember the porcelain Empress, it had like 160 MPa, megapascals, and this has about, I think that it's 116 or 60, but it's about the same thing. It's impressively good. Okay, the shades and everything, this is a very good printer. I have another one here. We have the Sprint Ray line. I think that the highest value of the Sprint Ray is the service for dentists that they're having now, and they have the new Onyx resin, which is an extremely hard resin, an extremely good resin for full arches or for restorations. Basically, they are just challenging. You're comparing iPhone to Android, and basically the iPhone is Formlabs because it's completely illegible, and Android will be the Sprint Ray, which is more powerful, but as well it's a little bit more complex because you have to do more manual things like pouring your resins and all that. The Formlabs, we have many tanks. So I think that I overextended as well in that answer, but yeah, that's a honest answer. And
okay, so on that note, let's wrap up this webinar presentation.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank everybody for attending. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you could see the schedule about upcoming presentations on the BlueSkyPlan website, BlueSkyPlan/webinars 2022. So please check out the schedule and register for the upcoming webinars. Raymond, thank you so much for your time, for the knowledge, for the information, and for all the educational events and activities that you do to help educate dentists on using digital dentistry in their practice.
Thank you as well, Michael. And yeah, well, everybody, if you want to outsource, it's worth mentioning, outsource to Lab Pronto. If you're just starting with this, I think that is the very, very best way. Start outsourcing the work. If you're trying to get into this, get the clinical consultations and start like learning with your own cases, so you don't hit like all the bumps, and you can smooth a little bit all the learning curve that you get there. I have seen that like the most effective way of learning how to treatment plan or how to use the software, how to use the whole BlueSkyBio ecosystem. With this, I have hundreds of dentists that I teach this way, and definitely I have seen a lot of very positive advance, much more than when I lecture a course or anything like that. Okay. Well, that's something that it's also very popular question. Thank you as well for your time, Michael. Doctors, thank you so much for your time and for being here. And just write down any question that you might have. I'll be happy to answer them, or contact at Raymond@BlueSkyBio.com. And I am not that good with emails, but I promise I will answer them all, okay, in time.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for attending.
Thank you. Okay.